Hey guys, Games with Chin here, and doing an accessibility review for Monster Hunter Rise. The demo. The full version of the game comes out March 26th on the Nintendo Switch. Now, this game has a lot, and I mean a lot, of different customization options that you can go through. You can have the items be the directional pad. You can have it set where you hold down the L button and then cycle with Y and B. And if you're using the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, you can customize any button you want on the Switch, and then it'll carry over, of course, to the game. They let you swap the triggers. They let you swap the shoulder buttons. There's a lot of features that the demo has that made accessibility a lot easier. Like, you can have it be where R, you hold down R to run, or you can just click the analog stick and your character will run. That is always good. Most of the buttons from Monster Hunter World kind of honestly carried over. B, your standard evade. X and A are your attack buttons. Y is what uses your items, unless you remap them, of course. I'm overall impressed. For me, because I use the Mayflash Magic and my Xbox control, and I had a control scheme set up for Monster Hunter World, it carried right over to Rise. So, if you've played Monster Hunter World and you're a little skeptical if you can play Rise, you can set the options to where the buttons are identical to World. Now, I don't know if the full version of the game will carry over all these. I imagine it will. I can't imagine they would remove options from the demo to the full game. They have the auto lock-on feature still, where you can click the lock-on button and it will permanently keep a lock-on on the monster until you rotate the camera and take the lock-on off, or the monster just gets too far out of view. Because what that does is, instead of having to navigate two analog sticks simultaneously, wherever the monster goes, the camera will follow, and you just have to use the move stick to run, evade, attack, etc. And that was a big feature I was really concerned that they would remove from World to Rise, but they kept it at least in the demo, and that was a big thing. And I was really, really glad for that. Some of the features, of course, that I think could be better, at least for accessibility, is the new wire bug that you get, which basically, is like the clutch claw in World. Gotta hold down ZL, or for you Xbox people, it would be left trigger, or PlayStation, it would be L2. You gotta hold that down and then use various buttons to do different moves. And that's unfortunately really hard to do, but I wasn't able to use the clutch claw in World either. However, none of those have ever been a feature that is game breaking. You can still play the game, beat the game, and still do amazing without them. They're just extra help. So it's not a game breaker. But the buttons are pretty simple. It's face buttons are attack, evade, item use. I think if you hold down the right analog stick, it brings up an item menu radial, and then you can just move it and let go. Uses the item. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. I don't use the item radial menu. I use the directional pad, which I have set to LNR, to cycle through items. It's easier for me in the way I play. Um, ZR or right trigger is still, depending on what weapon you're using, block or special move or whatnot. It's the exact same. So they did a great job keeping everything pretty straightforward from Monster Hunter World. And that was a big thing that I know I was really concerned about. And when I got to play the demo, that really eased my mind to know that I could pick up Rise and literally just pick up right from where I left off with World, making a new character, of course, but the controls identical. And that was a really, really good thing on Capcom to do, to not change things up too much. Now, Monster Hunter is a game that it's hard to really say what could make it easier and more accessible, because if you have auto run, then your stamina would constantly drop. So I can't say auto run would be a big thing. I think they did a great job with run just being a click of the analog stick, like most games that you play. Evasion being the B button, super accessible, easy to do. The attacks, same way. Overall, the game's accessibility is really well, especially for what all it offers and how in depth the game is. There's just a lot to it, and it's overall pretty accessible. And I give Capcom a lot of credit for that. The only thing that I don't like the most is the wire bug, because I can't use ZL. And I think there might even be a couple of maneuvers that's you got to hold down ZR plus ZL and then a face button. That'll be impossible to do. And I think that was, I get why it was made, but for accessibility purposes, it's just too many buttons to hold down. And if there was a way to simplify it, that'd be great. I don't know why they changed it, because in Monster Hunter World, when you used the long sword, you just had to hold down the ZR button and then hit the Y button on Xbox, and you would do your special move with the longsword. I think in Rise it's ZR plus ZL plus X, which is the equivalent of Y on the Xbox, or triangle on the PlayStation. And it seems like some of the things they did kind of overcomplicated it from World, but 99% of the game is just, you can go in the options and change it to where it's almost completely identical to World. So I got to give Capcom a lot of credit for that, and I hope when the full version comes out March 26th that there will be even more options than there already are. But we'll see. We'll see in March. But anyway, I appreciate you taking the time to listen and to watch this review, and I hope it helps. And in the immortal words of one Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other.